prejudice is just a long-term emotional commitment to ignorance. And the best medicine for ignorance is knowledge. Is we confuse low self-esteem with humility. Then we say, no, but I'm humble. No, you're not. You just lack confidence. If you are not your own advert and you're doing your own advertising, how are we going to know what you are great at? They tell you that follow your passion. You don't have the luxury if you're from poverty. Your job is to follow your effort. You have rights. You also have then responsibility. And what are you doing with your individual responsibility?
You're here because you show up.
Yeah.
You're here because you've been a part of the journey. You deserve to be here.
For every one Grammy, you need 3 or 5 nominations, and you out of those 5, you lose 4 times. And you only gain 1. Can you honestly say, I gave it my all?
So we've got Dr. Mzamo here with us today. Congratulations on the Canva launch.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, such a phenomenal event. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to come through to it, but I heard my team was there and they
Yeah.
said it was a phenomenal launch. They are repping the merch. I see it every day in the office, and I'm super jealous that I wasn't there. But it looks like it was a massive success.
No, it was definitely, it exceeded our expectations, actually.
Wow.
We had even more people than we had invited. And also, it was just one of those times where you have a solution that is already used. So it's rare sometimes to launch something that people already see as helpful and useful,
Yeah.
and they already use. So when you have over 1 million users already, or monthly active users in South Africa alone, so that already tells you that it's always nice to
Yeah.
launch something and a product or a solution that people have already, without even you launching it organically, it's
Yeah.
grown because it's useful and helpful.
Yeah, and you can see the value in it just by the attention that it's already garnering just through the launch. We run a digital marketing agency, and Canva is literally a backbone of what we do.
Yep.
So the fact that it's been able to grow the creator economy and it's been able to help young youth in South Africa be able to create jobs and
Yes.
opportunities is phenomenal. And I'm really excited to learn more about why there's a launch happening here in South Africa for Canva Africa.
Super.
But before we get into that, I want people to know who exactly they're speaking to.
Ah,
And you are a very decorated
thank you.
academic.
Thank you.
You were telling me earlier about how you wrote a book for your mom's birthday.
Yes.
You're the first person that you're making me question all the other gifts that I've given my mom as well. And I feel like that's testament to the academic,
Yes.
the academic side, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So going back to the beginning of your journey,
Mm.
where does this academic focus come from for you?
It's probably the greatest genetic lottery I got from my mom and dad, was just love for knowledge. So my strength is I'm curious. Like, I'm really a student for life. I'm very nerdy in that I really love knowledge. I love things I don't know, and I'm also comfortable to say that my ignorance is infinite. And so I'm constantly chipping away at my ignorance, because I know that the higher your ignorance, then the higher your prejudice about things. So actually, prejudice is just a long-term emotional commitment to ignorance. So if I want to have less prejudice, then it means I need to manage my ignorance. And the best medicine for ignorance is knowledge. It's just learning and learning, meeting new people. Every book I see, I will read. Anything, if you say something, I'll ask. And also, I've been liking that I was not scared earlier on to say I don't know, or please teach me, or please show me. I would rather be a fool for 2 seconds and wise for life. So I think it came, and also because my mom was a domestic worker at maybe age 15, 16, early teenage pregnancy. When I was in high school, she went back to school.
Sure.
So me and my mom were both in high school.
Yeah.
And she passed high school, went to varsity in her late 30s, and then 40s, she qualified as a social worker.
Wow.
And even in her 50s, she did her master's. And so, you see, like I come from a genetic line of people who just love knowledge. And luckily, if intelligence is passed on through the mother or the maternal, then I got lots of it from my mother. So thanks to her, that. So I think it's the combination of genetic lottery and just being socialized with a living role model who went to school at the time when I was going to school. So I had nowhere to hide, basically. So I saw someone being illiterate and being literate in my lifetime.
Mm. That's amazing. Shout out to Mzamo Masito.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Mm.
It's a phenomenal story. And when it comes to, that thing of learning, right? As you were speaking, I was just thinking of an empathy
Mm.
that comes with learning,
Mm.
because that ignorance, right?
Mm.
It can also be viewed as a lack of empathy, putting yourself in someone else's shoes or having some different understanding.
Yep.
Always think of knowledge as a sphere,
Mm.
and that sphere can be viewed from
Uh,
so many
mm.
different
Yep.
angles. It's the same thing,
Yes.
but the view of it can change depending on where you stand.
Yes.
So that like education thing, it sounds like it comes from a place of empathy.
Yeah. You are right in that at the end, what ignorance feeds on, or feeds as well, is fear.
Mm,
And when fear creeps in, because it's an irrational, partly, it's one of our most primal emotions, very limbic system lizard emotions that we have, our IQ drops,
mm,
and our logic and inductive and deductive logic fails us when we are wrapped in fear.
yeah.
And so, what ignorance feeds and feeds on the most is our fear. And then empathy is out of the house or the heart at that point. And
Mm,
then all we're seeking is survival. And then all we're looking for is I'm superior, you are inferior, us versus them. All of that. Just becomes survival primal mode,
mm,
which is very primal
yeah.
and very not sophisticated at all. It's
Yeah.
very primal, and it can only be cured when you start broadening your horizon and start stepping out of your discomfort and learning about other people, learning knowledge, and then slowly, I mean, for example, I say to people, when I started going to Nigeria, my perception of Nigerians was very different
Yeah.
until I get to Nigeria and I'm in my 20s. Then, and I go to Nigeria and I see CEOs and boards being Nigerians, confident, outspoken, very confident. And only then I was like, oh, okay, actually, I like these people.
Mm.
And there's a confidence they have that Black South Africans don't have.
Oh wow.
And Black South Africans being beaten enough by apartheid,
Mm.
we confuse low self esteem with humility.
Wow.
And sometimes it's nothing to do with esteem, it's just lack of confidence.
Yeah.
And it's also an inferiority complex. It's a mindset of an inferiority complex that's kicking in. And then we say, no, but I'm humble. No, you're not. You
Mm,
just lack confidence,
mm,
and you lack higher self esteem.
mm,
And also, you lack self awareness sometimes. So when I looked at the Nigerians, I was like, oh, these people are confident.
mm.
And I mean, with Nigerians, when I would talk to them, they will go for a job. I remember hiring in Nigeria and had so many CVs, thousands, partly because unemployment is also high, but also you have 200 and something million people competing for limited jobs.
Sauce, yeah.
But still, the person would say to me, I don't know how to do this job yet, but if you give me 3 weeks, I will know how to do it. That's confidence.
Yeah.
But I won't not always see that in a South African,
South Africa.
especially Black South African. They'll be like, they will look at the job thing and say, oh, I can't do it. I don't apply,
And not try.
and not try.
Yeah.
Whereas take a Nigerian, they will look at it like, oh, I can't do it now. If
Yeah.
not, I can't do it forever.
Yeah. There's an
Whereas,
audacious belief.
but it's a mindset.
Yeah.
And that mindset is very similar when I go and when I lived in the US. and I hang out with African Americans, and I'm looking at these people, and I'm like, oh, as a South African, maybe colonized by the British, you confused things. Like you think you must always have humility. The African Americans or Nigerians are perceived as arrogant. No, they're not. It's just a different form of confidence. They are outspoken and they are vocal about the things they are great at,
Yeah.
and they are good at self promoting.
Yeah. Wow.
And here we're like, no, don't self promote. If you don't tell us what you're good at, how are we going to know?
Yeah.
If you are not your own advert and you're doing your own advertising, how are we going to know what you are great at?
Yeah.
So the Nigerians and African Americans have figured that long time ago that if you shouldn't wait, you should announce, be your own great head and cheerleader and tell people what you're great at, as long as you back it
Yeah.
with evidence and portfolio of evidence, and it's not air. As long as you back it, and people can also say, I mean, when I look at Muhammad Ali and he says I'm the greatest, you can easily say that's arrogance or lack of humility, but he backs it.
Yeah.
And then he wins.
Yeah. Tell him otherwise and see.
Yeah. So for me, that's the part. You're right in that there is an element of empathy. The more you know, the more likely you are to be more neither left heavily left leaning, heavily right leaning. You probably become more of a moderate
Yeah.
in a
'Cause you
way,
understand
and
both sides.
yeah, because you are more appreciative of gray, because life is actually more gray than right wing or left wing. It's actually very gray.
Yeah.
And the more you learn, the more you realize how gray it is, and how the more you know, the more you also don't know,
Yeah.
and the more confusing things are. So it gives you more empathy to stay in the gray, to look on both sides and be able to give each side grace and mercy, more grace and mercy than most people will give. Whereas both sides struggle to hold multiple truths at once. Each side wants the other side to be wrong so that they are right.
Yeah.
Whereas
There's a
if you live
bias.
in the gray,
Yeah.
you are okay and comfortable with dialectical maturity or even dialectical behavioral. It's like you're in dialectical behavioral therapy where you say, this side is actually not wrong as well. There's truth here, but also this side, there's also truth. Now, how do we hold these two truths in such a way that we are able to move forward?
Sure.
That's very different from I'm right, you're wrong, or I'm wrong, you're right. So that's what for me, I feel like learning in continuous learning and development gives you an ability to be comfortable with gray spaces.
That's phenomenal. And I think this is a message that's so important for people to hear because I always tell my team, you're here for a reason. It's not luck.
Yep.
It's not chance. You're here because you show up. You're here because you've been a part of the journey. You've helped build what we're building now. You deserve to be here. I mean, last night we went to an event for an activation as well, and I could see there's a little bit of a shyness. And when you go into a space and you operate from a space of I deserve to be here, you bring a different confidence, and with that confidence builds trust.
Exactly.
Because how can you expect someone else to trust you if you don't trust yourself? So I think it's a message that's super, super important for people to hear, especially in the context of South Africa. And the other thing that I love about what you're saying is like we can learn from each other. You know, something that you often deem to be wrong, it's kind of a sign that there might be something that you're misunderstanding that you need to unpack that, and you can actually get a lot of gold from unpacking that. Which is why I love the fact that well, as a young South African, I was able to be born in this country and grow up in this country because I think it's given me the opportunity to look at things that come from my culture that might be deemed as weird or not right, but to have a curiosity to understand why. Why is that the case? And from that, you can learn and grow so much. It's such a double-edged sword that can be leveraged to progress in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve in your life. And that's what I love about South Africa, because you have so many different cultures, so many misunderstandings,
Exactly.
as weird as it sounds.
You know, at Unilever, we did a study when I was in India, actually, Unilever India, and we did a study on low income, low emerging markets, or the global south. And we were looking at what's common, what's different across these countries from China, India, five, I think, African countries, and then Brazil, Vietnam, Southeast Asia. So we were doing a comparative analysis. And then we also realized like there are countries like South Africa where it's many worlds in one country.
Mm.
So it's even a great place to come learn
Yeah.
because you will have from low income zero to high income 1 million in one country,
Yeah. Living right next door.
separated by a road
Yeah.
or by a railway line
Yeah.
or by a fence. So that's the part, like, and that enriches you,
Mm.
and that you become a really different person. But for me, it's like you're saying, is that learning for me has helped with mindset
Mm.
more than anything else. Like it's just having a different mindset when you enter any new space, like whether i I take a new project, my mindset going into that project is not failure.
Mm. Mm.
My mindset going to a project is I am going to give it my most, my best effort.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. And I am driven by a certain purpose. Like, for example, if I say Canva and someone says, why did you move from Google to Canva? Because you look like you were in a good weekend at Google, you were doing well, all of that. So why move? And then
Yeah.
I say to people, my whole thing is I'm driven by certain missions and things that I want to achieve. So when I turned 50, I wrote in my life plan, which is a 10-year rolling plan, that when I turn 50, I will leave corporate and go and not work for a year.
Wow.
And that was on my, and then the other mindset I had was the only way you can do that is if one of my coaches used to say, you have to be economically free. That means you have to have fuck off money,
Mm.
that you can be able to say lots of F's to many people and be okay.
Yeah.
And then be able to not go to work for a year so that you can just, because you've ended.
Yeah.
And that life is also short and long. And South Africa life expectancy for men is 60, 62. So if you assume you're not an outlier and you're in the average of that normal distribution curve, if you're 50, you're only left with 12
Yo.
years. So if you look at it that way, you might, of course, if you're middle upper class, add another 20 years
Mm.
because middle upper class live longer than low income people, but still
Yeah.
assume you in the average.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the key thing for me is if you, a mindset is purpose driven, as in, I want to improve education outcomes in South Africa, particularly literacy and numeracy, because I know the downsides of poor numeracy and and illiteracy. I know it when people can't read for meaning and when people can't count, quantitative literacy is low. I know exactly what the downsides are.
Mm.
And most people don't even think about things like if you can't, if you're not enumerate or numerate enough jobs, unemployment is high.
Yeah.
Your income bracket is low because most jobs require people who are more numerate
Mm.
than people who are less numerate. And this doesn't mean you should have majored in maths or stats or,
Mm.
but still you
Too
should be
easily.
able to
Mm.
computate numbers and percentages and all of that, even in your head.
Mm.
And people who are less numerate tend to have more chronic diseases.
Sure.
And they tend not to solve, they tend not to have patience to solve problems.
Mm.
And they tend to apply lots of shortcuts and heuristics about things. So, which ends up why they believe in witchcraft
Conspiracies.
and conspiracies, and because they are less, it's the same with literacy as well.
Mm.
So, if you break it down to that level, then you know that if I can improve South Africa's numeracy and literacy, you're not just improving education, you're actually improving a mindset.
Mm.
And you are helping people, like health diagnostics, for example. If you are less numerate, people are less numerate overdose because they read the dosage instructions wrongly,
Yeah.
or underdose,
Not even intention.
or they didn't understand that it says 3 times a day. And now someone's like, oh, I thought every 3 hours or every, you see and we underestimate how even in health, if you less numerate. So those are the things for me that drive me. Then I go look for solutions and partners and products and software, even hardware or software products that can help with that problem.
Wow.
So then when I was coming back to want to do stuff, I then looked at Canva because Canva was being used by my daughters. And I have 3 daughters and they've been using Canva since they were in primary school. The last 10, 12 years, they've been using Canva. And I saw how my daughters are visual, especially my second daughter. Those kids will have too many pens with too many colors, and her notebook has colors and for everything. It's just colorful, and she sees in color, like me actually.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, how is it why our education system is so text only based and not visual enough, and not voice, and not video, and not virtual, not why?
Yeah.
And then when I looked at Canva, I was like, oh, maybe I can find a way to take Canva education, Canva schools as a solution to this so that you improve the pedagogy of teaching and you make kids, especially boys, engage more in class, read, and also read to understand or understand the lesson, all of that, or stay engaged with the subject with curiosity, all of that. So then that's how I pick.
Amazing.
So I pick based on what is the thing that I am most passionate about now versus when I was younger. But when I was younger, the advice I got was, you poor and you grew up poor, don't listen to these people who grew up with 3 garage doors or and in San Francisco, and their parents are above the income median bracket, and most of them probably are graduates or all of that, and they tell you that follow your passion. You don't have the luxury if you're from poverty.
Yeah.
Your job is to not follow your passion. Your job is to follow your effort.
Sure.
You follow your effort and you follow pragmatism and you follow money. Follow the things that will get you out of poverty. So that when you're out of poverty, then you can find the things you're passionate about. And also you have enough money to say fuck off anyway. So you can then find the things that now feel like more passion driven, but now your basic Maslow needs are met. So you actually now only have existential problems like self-actualization or transcendence, but the basic things are met. So now I'm at an age where from 50 till I die, I'm now chasing things that I feel are of significance.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was 0 to 25, I was just surviving. I needed to survive Kailicha, Guguletu, Informal Settlement, Kate Flats, Valhalla Park. I needed to survive gangsterism, drug addiction, getting shot, stabbed, Bantu education, poverty, apartheid, you name it, survive. Because if you don't survive, you don't succeed. Because then after 25 to 50, my whole thing was succeed.
Yeah.
Just succeed, succeed, succeed. After 50, it's significance. If you survive, you are able to succeed. If you succeed, you have more chance of making more significant impact in society with more money. Poor people don't make more impact. People might hate wealthy people, but wealthy people, when they use their wealth well, it has an amazing social impact multiplier if used well. I'm not saying all wealthy people are not, some of them are not nasty or evil, but the idea that people frown upon wealth, I am not allergic.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much to learn from what you don't understand. Like, that's amazing. And my next question to you is like, you are highly decorated academic. You've got fuck you money. Like, at this point, why stay in Africa?
For me, it's about, if I want significance and I want impact, then the question for me is, where do you need to be located where you are able to make 3x, 5x impact, or 10x impact. For example, if I go to the Nordic countries that scored in the top 10 of education outcomes or great education outcomes, if I go live there and I go live in Switzerland or Sweden or Norway or the Nordics, whatever improvement I make there, yeah, it will be, but it will be 0.001% on top of something that's already great.
Yeah.
Whereas if I stay in Africa, whether it be South Africa, Nigeria, or Kenya, anywhere, if we figure out a solution and we've solved the issue, let's say, of numeracy and literacy, that's 100x impact. I want that kind of impact. I want it to be so scalable that in the long run, you've saved millions and you've made an impact and you've improved the quality of education, not for 1 million. Also, if I look at Nordics, like the country probably same size as Swaziland or Lesotho, and then you improve for 2 million. Why can't I improve for? There are 13 million students in South Africa from grade 00 to grade 12, 13 million. Imagine if we can make lives of that 13 million better. Ethiopia has 27 million students.
Yeah.
So imagine if we can make an outcome great. Nigeria has double the number in Ethiopia, millions.
Yeah.
So imagine if we can improve education outcomes for millions of learners in Africa. For me, that's what drives. It's more can you make an impact that translates to 3x, 10x, or 100x versus 0.001%.
Go where you are needed.
Yeah, most.
Most.
It's not that people don't need you in the Nordics, but I feel like, and also here, I feel I have more emotional connection. Whereas in other countries I go to, I've lived in the US, in the UK, in India, I have a transactional
It's a
relationship.
bit cold.
I don't have a relational. You see, like, whereas I want it to be relational, not just transactional. Whereas when I feel like when I'm in the continent, everywhere I am in the continent, it feels like home and it feels familiar. And there's more relational relationships than it is just transactional. But when I've lived in the UK or in the US or India, it just feels very transactional for me.
No, for sure. Hey, and we were actually speaking to Kabelo Makwana.
Oh, Kabel, yes, yeah.
And it's funny because he said, and I'll never forget, he used a phrase that stuck with me. We in Africa function off of a relationship driven economy. So we have the digital economy, we have the financial economy. In Africa, we have the relationship economy. And I think that's critical because as we move more into tech, it becomes more and more cold. And if you're looking at the Nordic countries or first world countries that develop this technology, like Canva's coming from overseas, we bringing it here to Africa, you can tell that there's a coldness to the technology. And they are dealing with the same problem there. Because if you go to those countries, you can have the best possible technology that can solve the most difficult problem. But if you can't get people to use it, it's completely useless. And that's where the relationship comes into it. How does it make you feel? What does it do for your life that adds value that you go to bed having peace?
Exactly. You know, when I was, when was it? I think 2 years ago, I was in Dallas, Texas, and I was attending some CMO conference. And in there, they brought a speaker, an expert on loneliness.
Wow.
And she was talking about the loneliness epidemic. And I listened, and the data on the downsides of loneliness and how depression, anxiety, suicide, and just you're not well when you're lonely. And I listened, and at the end, when there was a chance for Q&A, I then said to her, I think you need to reframe this and not make an American problem or Western problem everyone's problem.
Wow.
Because Africa
Canva's
does
South
not have a
Africa.
loneliness epidemic. The West, which is highly individualistic, perhaps has this epidemic. But you can just take a plane and come to us and we will show you that we have always been communal, not communist. Like Dr. Ruokoza always says, Africans have always been communal. We understand this. For example, then I say to her, in the village I grew up in the Eastern Cape, I remember once one of the homesteads lost their cows. They had a foot and mouth disease that only killed their head, and no one else actually. Weirdly, all of theirs died,
Yeah.
and they also affected their um, harvest.
Yeah. It's your wealth.
There was a village meeting which we were allowed to attend as young, and you even sit in front, and there's a chief there, and each house was instructed and all agreed to take a cow or a goat, a sheep from their kraal and put it into this house's kraal.
Wow.
To restore their dignity.
Yeah.
But also to restore balance. And now that I'm older, I realize that those villages understood the importance of being communal. And they also understood that I am because we are. And they understood that if they leave that neighbor as is, sooner or later, his animalistic instincts of survival will kick in.
Yeah.
And what breeds violence and theft more than anything is not poverty, absolute poverty. It's relative poverty and inequality. When you see yourself relative to someone else, then it increases angst and frustration. But if we're all poor, the chances of us all here rob each other is low. That's why the Eastern Cape or Limpopo or Northern Cape will have the lowest violent deaths or crimes. But the Cape Town, which is the wealthiest, one of the wealthiest provinces, has the highest murder rate.
Yeah.
Because it's inequality and relative poverty that breeds that physical violence and aggression. So it's the same that those villages had understood something only now the West are writing amazing research papers on loneliness, the effect of loneliness. And I was saying to this person, for once, Africa actually has a playbook. And my worry about Africa is Africans thinking that we need to assimilate everything from the West and not use the word integrate as a word, but not assimilate, but integrate so that we can adopt and adapt and invent so that we do all three. There are things in the West we can adopt as they are, if need be, and just integrate them into our culture.
Yeah.
There are things where we can adapt while integrating them in, because we are sensitive of our context, situation, and culture, language, similar to what Japanese and Chinese and Singaporeans are doing when they learn from the West. They don't just take what the West does and copy paste it to their countries. They are looking and learning, and then they either adopt. The Japanese adopted the car, but adapted it for their conditions, smaller cars, smaller TVs. So now those are the ones that sell the fastest in the world. So they thought,
And they would have never have known.
yes. So which is the same thing you were talking about from the beginning, is it's okay to learn.
Yeah.
You go to the West and learn, but don't forget who you are. And then figure out what you've learned from the West. How do you adopt? Which parts do you need to adopt? And you don't need to waste your energy and just integrate them into who you are. Which parts I adapt and which parts need complete invention that you would have to invent using your cultural context and other people's knowledge.
The operative word for me is collaboration.
Yes.
Because the challenge that I have with integration, I don't know, maybe it's just my bias, but it seems as though now we must integrate into us. But in the same breath, you must also integrate into me. So, and I think that's what I really love about Canva coming to Africa. Because going back to that topic of the coldness, software, relationships, I'm so excited to see how having that African branch can bring value into the product that already existed. And talking about that, like, what are you, because that's what I'm excited to see. What are you excited to see? Someone who's like in the thick of it.
So what I'm really excited about was that for me, the first thing I looked at Canva was the mission, which is empower the world to design. And for me, it was we just need to change the world and say empower Africans to design with any device, with any platform, anywhere, and be able to design for because what we in the world, what we forget, like even when you look at the World Economic Forum top 10 skills that will be needed 2030, 2040, there are certain skills that don't change. And one of them is imagination. You need to still be able to imagine a thing that doesn't exist now. And AI doesn't do that yet. Generative AI or any of these AIs we're talking about, forms of AI, they are using historical data to imagine. But we can take a leap from nothing. We don't even need an historical data sometimes and imagine a future and imagine a world. And also the problems we have require imagination. It requires us to be able to imagine solutions that either don't exist or that exist, but we can imagine them differently. So for me, design is the thing that I feel like the world underestimate it as a superpower. And it underestimated for kids as well that if we want to have kids who are great problem solvers, they must be able to imagine things. And that's for me the first part, the reason I thought, oh, I want to get in because I love design, I love creativity. I feel like have been living in a world that is obsessed with the left brain only, and the right brain all of a sudden has become non-existent,
Undervalued.
undervalued. Whereas you
Yeah.
need both, and you need a world that lives in the intersection between art and science, that lives in the world of magic, imagination, and then also lives in the world of facts and rationality and empirical evidence and control tests, all of that. But you need both. It's not either or, it's and. And so that's why it first for me. Then the second part was if we want that, then it means the current Canva product has to feel South African, has to feel Nigerian. Even in South Africa, when you go to KZN, it must feel KZN or Limpopo. It must not just feel South Africa, because no one lives in South Africa. People live in a province or in a municipality. The idea that South Africa is a just big elephant, that people are living in a tail of an elephant or ear of an elephant, which is called a municipality or district or province. And that's what most people seem to feel the most. Same if you're in Nigeria, you know that people are living in either being Yoruba or Igbo or Hausa or North or South or East, and they must feel that the product feels like the East or the North or the South. Or if I'm Yoruba and I want to do things because I'm feeling that I want to celebrate in a way that feels Yoruba, I must go into Canva. It must feel, same with in Kenya, it must feel Swahili as much as you can. And you must feel that a Kenyan, when they look at it, it feels, if I'm in Ghana and I speak Twi, it must feel that way. And it must look and feel that way. So for me, it's the most important thing is how do you use product that already exists with its core product, but how do you add an icing and cherry on top that makes it feel part of that country? Because in the European Union, the Europeans never called themselves European Union. The French call themselves French. And the British, which exited even the Brexit, they call themselves British first. Even in the United Kingdom, the Scottish are Scottish first before they are United Kingdom. Say with the Irish, they are Irish first before United Kingdom, which the same should apply to Africans. We are not Africans first. We are probably at very best South African first, or even a tribe first, before you even a South African, or your religion second, then other things. And then when you run out of things to say, then you're a South African. And then when all of that is done, maybe you're an African. So the same thing, that's the first part, is for me product. That's why in product, we were able now to fix things like pricing. Within Canva, in the Western developed markets, Canva has been priced on a monthly and yearly pricing. Now we've introduced daily and weekly pricing. And imagine in the future where you can also introduce time-based pricing. Same the way you buy airtime, and you can buy the design or the Canva. I just want to use it for 1 hour.
Yeah.
I want to use it for 30 minutes. I want to use it for a day. I want to use it. So that now starts to reflect our conditions and our context of data, connectivity, load shedding, power, all of those things. That's the second one is payments. Payments have always been credit cards everywhere else. Now we're introducing mobile payments. We've integrated M-Pesa, which is the largest and biggest mobile payment in Africa. And we introduced VEV cards in Nigeria, banking transactions in Nigeria. Same here, we'll explore more like
Yeah.
Capitec Pay or any other forms of payment that people are using to make it feel more African. The third thing, we introduce additional 8, 6, 7 African languages in Canva when we made the announcement.
Wow.
But what people also don't know, 7 out of the 12 official South African languages in South Africa are already available in
Sure.
Canva. So, and that's already 7 out of 12.
Yeah.
So we still have to complete the additional 5 so that we are able to say 12 out of 12 official languages in South Africa are available in Canva. And then those are the things. And then the other part has been being able to give Canva for education in Canva schools for free to all schools, now including public schools. Because in the past, Canva, or even currently, it's predominantly used by private schools. So that means there's a digital education divide. And therefore, private school kids like my kids have been using Canva for 10 years. They've got a
Seems
10-year
normal.
head start, and it's normal. And I want that to close. So now we are in discussions with the Ministry of Basic Education to be able to give all of grade 00 to grade 12 students Canva education, Canva school for free, teachers and learners. The other one as well, we're starting to give Canva for non-profits. All the non-profits in South Africa, if there's over 250,000 non-profits in South Africa, all of them can have Canva for free.
Sure.
Canva for non-profits for free, so that they can design for good.
Yeah.
And they can design for social impact. They can use it to grow their NGOs. They can use it to create more awareness of the causes that they are doing, but in a way that is visual. Because if you think about it, design is also storytelling. What we're actually saying when we say design, we're actually also saying effective storytelling.
Yeah.
And how do you do effective storytelling? Video, visual, voice, all of those things are needed in order to effectively communicate.
Feeling.
And so that you can talk to someone's heart,
Yeah.
not just their head.
Yes.
And if you're an NGO, you are talking to a feeling or an emotion or heart. And how do you do that visually? In such, and also an NGOs now would say to me, I didn't know Canva for nonprofit was free. Our NGO doesn't have a website. And I was saying to one of Canva's dog types is website. You can create a website on Canva and host it on Canva or host it outside Canva. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I wanted to design a business card, but we, as an NGO, we don't have money. I'm like, you can go there, there's business card templates already to use, or you can design your own.
Yeah.
Or you can take your entire brand logo, templates, everything, and embed it and create a brand kit and design everything on Canva. Now, all that graphic design you were not able to do, now you're a graphic designer.
Sure.
You're not a pro designer, but you can do the basics.
Yeah.
If you want to do an invoice template or receipt template, you want to do a pitch presentation for your NGO, you want to do a social post that you can then post it on Instagram or TikTok or X or any. Now you can do that as well without needing to pay like
Awesome.
exorbitant amounts or needing to think, oh, I need a social media expert or this and this. So I'm saying to them, there are ways where we can now use technology to collaborate with us and for cost savings and to increase productivity and increase social impact. So that's really the last thing I think we talked about there was the work we're doing in Malawi on cash transfers, which actually South Africa has been doing cash transfers, which people don't realize for many years now, which we call social grants. And those are cash transfers, unconditional cash transfers. The social child welfare, old age pension, all of those, and you don't dictate to people how they use it. And 99% of people, actually, if not 98%, they are responsible citizens. The idea that middle and upper class tells us that it creates dependency, it's not grounded on empirical evidence.
Yeah.
We know that unconditional cash transfers lift people out of poverty, baseline. And then so that they can think. You
Yeah.
can't think when you're below poverty
Survival.
baseline. And they can think, they can start thinking about a future. And now also all of a sudden they respect education because now they are future focused, not now only focused. And you only do that when you can move people out of the poverty baseline. You're not moving them completely out of poverty, but you're moving them out of just survival, chronic mindset to a mindset that can look up and see 10 years, 20 years. And now they can see why they should keep their kids at school for 12 years.
You actually have something to lose at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because now you know the benefits of, hey, this thing will pay off in the long run, but I'm also my basic Maslow needs are met.
Yeah.
So I don't need to worry
Yeah.
about now and
Yeah.
tomorrow. So those are the things for me we were talking about. So my keen interest really with Canva is how do we do that step 1 and step 2 well, where Canva is a company with shareholders, with founders, and how do we create the most value, economic value for the company and for the country that it's in. At the same time, the step 2 is how do we do the most good we can. And the two should not be either or, they should be end.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the do good fuels most value. The most value gives you more shitloads of money to do most good. So the two are actually, it's a wheel, a cycle of that keeps giving each other. So you actually should always treat it as an end, not as an either or. And I find like sometimes companies, the first thing they cut or stop doing when times are tough is the good. And sometimes you forget that sometimes the good
Is the thing
is
that
the invisible hand that breeds luck to the most value. And then you wonder why you have more value. And sometimes it's just this invisible hand of continuing to do the most good.
The invisible hand paying it forward.
But you don't always see it because also in corporate, sometimes we have a mistake of being obsessed with everything must be measurable.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of the biggest problems we have being creatives because how do you measure a feeling?
Yes. So that's why then you say to people, even Einstein, I think it was him who said, like, just because it can be counted, it doesn't always mean it counts. And just because it can be counted, it also doesn't mean it does not count.
Yeah.
So we should be very careful to obsess with, there are limitations to everything we do. That's why even in economics, when economics used to be a social science, a pure social science, until people wanted to win Nobel Prizes and we added maths and stats, and now it became a science that sounded clever because now it had graphs and equations and it's measurable, and now you can win a Nobel Prize. But what then did we do? We create things like a GDP, a calculation that doesn't measure some of the things that count. It doesn't measure a woman's time. It doesn't measure the time your mother breastfed you, the time your mother made sacrifices and didn't go to work, the time the mother had to clean the house and make sure you are healthy, you are going to school. Where is that in this thing we call it matters, the equation?
Yeah.
So sometimes we should be very careful as a people that the obsession with measurement even trumps common sense.
Yeah.
And it also trumps intuition and gut. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we have multiple brains. We have this other brain, but we also have gut as a brain as well. We have a heart brain. We have brains, many brains. And so we should use all of them. And for me, that's why I feel this thing about art and science, we should have a mindset as a nation that we worship both and we live in the intersection between art and science. None is superior than the other. If sometimes we need to over index on art, we do. If we need to over index on science, we do. If we need to juggle both to get an answer, we do. But we shouldn't be silo driven and then feel like if I have a PhD in statistics, therefore I matter more than someone who has a PhD in philosophy or art. No, that's not true. We both have value to add to society. We actually need both of those mindsets in order to make the world better, not one.
I wouldn't be surprised in the next few years if Canva is now adopting some of these changes overseas.
Yeah, luckily, my whole thing in life has always been when we started solving for persons with disability, it became clear that we were not only solving for persons with disability, we were actually solving for everyone. The more you solve for the most marginalized, the more you solve for everyone. Because if you are solving for Africa, you are not just solving for Africa, actually.
Yeah.
When Africans were solving for the deficiency in the banking system and they launched mobile payments, who are now the biggest beneficiaries of mobile payments?
The West.
You see, like, so we were, you don't solve when you always, that's why I talk about 10x, 100x. When you solve for the most marginalized, the multiplier effect is amazing globally.
Yeah.
Because you are also solving for everyone. When we figure out the most cost effective solution to light fire because we're poor, what ends up happening? When we figure out people food we used to call poor people food that are now is a delicacy to the West.
Yeah.
Because we figured out a way to make something ugly tasty.
Yeah.
But we were solving for poverty.
Yeah.
But now it's $100 meal.
Yeah. And I'm going to take it to music.
Yes.
You look at South African music, we solving for all the problems, the pain that we're dealing here through music.
Yep.
You look at, I was watching the other day Tyler performing in Korea.
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm comparing it to K-pop.
Yeah.
Because in Korea, the government has invested in K-pop. They've invested in film. They've invested in the arts. And you see how that's taken over globally. You look at South Africa, how much has been invested into these, into Amapiano from the government compared to that investment. And now you see this person going there into Korea, selling a fully sold out stadium.
Yes.
How is that possible?
It's amazing because I was in London not long ago and I'm in Shoreditch and I'm walking to look for a vinyl store and I'm hearing on my piano loud like in a car and I stop and I look and it's 5 white boys.
Yeah.
They're not hearing what is being said, but they were happy.
Yeah.
This thing was making them happy. And you see like how I know that most things, especially when we see it, solve it and scale it, most things are scalable if the solutions are solving a need. Not for, because most of the needs are not race, they're not demography, it's a need.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you are white or black or Indian or woman, it's a need.
Human need.
It's a human need. And some human needs are universal.
Yeah.
And so once we are able to solve for Africa, I'm convinced that some of the features that we launch in products in Africa will end up be features that you would see everywhere else in the world.
We're going to have to do a follow-up episode.
Yes. And to figure out what are some of the features that we didn't have, that we now have, and now are now being used in the, I mean, things like it is Africans mostly who were thinking about offline mode.
Yeah.
Because if you have power 24/7,
yeah.
and
It's not even something you think
and
about.
you have unlimited data,
Yeah.
that's not something you think about.
Yeah.
But when we offer those features and solutions, they are not solving for only people with limited power or load shedding or expensive data. Now everyone in the world can be on a train, on a bus, or somewhere and work on offline mode and get to back to their home or work and now connect and be back on online.
But not even that. When the server goes down,
they can now also you see
still work.
so we didn't
And
just
you would have
solve
never thought about that until the server went
until
down.
there was an issue with either emerging markets having problems with power or data or data the smart device storage facility. And then we solve for that. We actually solving for
Bigger
the
problems.
rest of the world. So I'm convinced that for me, that's the thing again about mindset, is that Africa is there's no like helping Africa out of sympathy. We Canva comes to Africa out of interest
Yeah.
for its step 1 and step 2 interest, not sympathy. And then and also not with the superiority complex that we're here to save the Africans. No, Africans don't need to be saved by outsiders. We can save ourselves, but we do need, like you use the word collaboration, partners. We're not allergic to partners and village community support, global village support. We're not allergic to that. But we also want that global village support to come with humility, to come with respect and care, and not messiah tendencies like we're here to save Africans. We don't need that.
Our biggest problem is that we can't do all the work. There's so much work that needs to be done. We can't do it all, which is why we created this podcast to inspire, to make people aware of the opportunity that exists and to educate people so that they can take that opportunity and uplift our continent, uplift our country. So we can create this podcast to communicate that information. I can sit here from a place of privilege and communicate this, but the problem with that is I'm coming from a place of privilege. I'm sitting in the chair. I have the privilege of speaking to someone who's coming from the Lalis. How can that person, what message do you have for that person who is where you were and wants to get where you are today?
There's a newspaper clip I saw of teachers protesting the calculate.
Yeah.
The calculate.
Yeah.
Maths teachers were protesting. When we invented a car, there was a protest from horse owners because this thing's going to take. So there's never been anything that we have invented as humans that has not disrupted something else. But the upside, though, has also been that it's forced us to think more and evolve immediately. And it's also forced us to, let's say, if I'm a graphic designer, if now you can do the basics, that's no longer value add.
Yeah.
Now it means I need to push my game to things that you can't do.
Yeah.
Now you can say to me, I've designed this postcard, but I don't know how to make it flip, or I don't know how to make it embed a voice video, or make it do this, make it do that, or I don't know if there's another way. And then you can then say, that's an entry card. Let me show you how you can do a card that whispers versus others cards that are just generic.
Yeah.
Now you're elevating the game and you're forcing the art, you're pushing the art to areas of discomfort. So that's for me the part I'm most excited about, is that it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the most adaptable.
Yeah.
Because Darwin already showed us that the reason the rats, the rodents, and the cockroaches are not dying is because they adapt.
Yeah.
You invent a microwave, they figure a way to survive inside that microwave. So that is us as well. We should have this kind of rodent, cockroach, a survival mindset where we adapt and evolve. I used to feel insulted when someone says, like a cockroach rodent, but now I'm like, sure, that's a nice compliment because it means we can live forever.
Yeah. You're not getting rid of me.
You're not getting rid of me anytime soon.
Yeah.
So that for me now, it reframed my mindset towards survival and adaptability and evolving. Then for someone in the rural areas, I think as a society, we have a bad habit of talking about rights far more than talking about responsibility. And I think even whether you are poor or middle class or upper class or upper class, we still need the mindset of individual responsibility, that if it's to be, it's up to me. Because when I say that village people are communal, it doesn't mean they are also not individualistic. Because in my village, there are men who have more cows than others out of individual talent and effort. And if they didn't give individual effort, individual talent, and they didn't, because the scripture says, you shall reap from your what you sow and also from your sweat. So it means there's an element of sweat that you also have to put
Sweat
in.
equity.
Yes, you need sweat equity. You can't just be like, oh, I'm poor, I'm waiting for someone to come save me. There's also a part where we should all ask ourselves, yes, I have rights, but what's my responsibility? What's my individual responsibility? Before I start blaming government, my parents, because there's an expiry date to blaming your parents, there's an expiry date in blaming government. We should also look inwards and say, did I do everything within my power and control to do good for me? And if the answer is yes, and you still did not succeed, it does happen. And that's unlucky. But for most of us and people I grew up with in the townships I grew up in and in the villages I grew up in, I would say maybe 30% is just they were just unlucky. 70%, in that 70%, many didn't take individual responsibility.
Sure.
Many made bad choices and decisions. And now we turn and we blame someone else. We externalize blame to witchcraft, to government, to the neighbor, to someone else, or my father was absent. All of those things, which sound valid, and they are valid, which and they are true most of the time. But the other truth that no one wants to talk about is you had rights, but what did you do with that responsibility when you were given these beautiful rights? What did you do? And if you yourself can't own up and say, I did this and this and this, I made these choices and sacrifices, these decisions, I worked hard, all of that, then it's for me, I feel like whether you are in the village or in the township or in the suburb, I think we should not shy away from this concept of you have rights, you also have then responsibility. And what are you doing with your individual responsibility? And if you can't own up to that, then and at the end of the day, it's like I say to people, yes, you're black. Yes, you were dealt with bad cards. Fine. And that's true. So we can't shy away from that. Does that absolve you from being competent? Because we are not gonna associate with you because you're black or you're gay or your sexual orientation is this or you're a person with disability. That's not why we're going to associate with you. But we're going to associate with you when you are a solution provider, when you are competent, when you are of good character, and when you are consistent. If you have these three things, irrespective whether you are village or suburb or black or person with disability, you more likely will find your tribe. But you also have to bring your responsibility into the game of I'm going to be the most competent person. I'm going to act with such high levels of character, integrity, respect, values, and I'm going to do it consistently. And if you do just these three C's, the chances of you remaining where you are now, it might take longer. For some, it might be faster for some, but the chances of remaining in that same point you were are close to zero.
You are despite of.
Yes. Despite, because I mean, I know poverty, I know absent father. My father abandoned me. I know poverty, I know apartheid. And at some point, there is a part in all of this, the individual. We, yes, I'm not saying government could do more. I'm not saying the education system is not failing people. Yes, all those things are also true.
Yeah.
But there's also another truth, which is
What can we do?
what you as an individual who looks in the mirror and when you talk to yourself, can you honestly say, I gave it my all? Life is effortful and I put all my effort into it and I still didn't succeed. And I tell people like when I look at Messi, Michael Jordan, all of them, like Michael Jordan has 5 or 6 rings, but he went to 12 or 13 finals. But no one remembers the 7 or 8 he lost.
Yeah.
Everyone's remembering that he's got rings. But it's the same with us. Messi has been to many finals, but everyone remembers the time when he outperformed, he won the Ballon d'Or, this, but very few people remember that he lost many times. I look at Steph Curry, maybe his 3-pointers, he doesn't have the highest accuracy rate, but he has the most points because he takes the most shots. But he's missed a lot, over 50%. But no one remembers that in all that effort, he's actually lost more than he's gained.
Yeah.
And then I said to people, my daughters, I went to look at Beyonce. She has 30 something Grammys, but she has over 120 plus
Nominations.
nominations. But who remembers that he actually,
The 90.
for every one Grammy, you need 3 or 5 nominations,
Yeah.
and you, out of those 5, you lose 4 times, and you only gain 1. But all of us are obsessed with the
before.
the trophy,
Oh yes, yes,
the
yes,
one,
yes. That's
and
the
we
one
want
that's
that
remembered.
one.
Yeah.
But we, our brains are wired in mindsets not to remember that in order to get the one, you need 5 efforts, and out of those 5 efforts, 4 you're gonna fail
Yeah.
and not win the Grammy, but the last one maybe you are gonna win. So she sits with 33 as a GOAT, but it just didn't happen
Yeah.
without effort, the individual effort, and just how mundane. I always wish like people could read. There's a paper I once read. It's called "The Mundanity of Excellence," and it's an
It's
old
actually
paper,
boring.
and
The
that
process
it
is
shows you how excellence is actually mundane.
yeah.
It's repetitive. It's boring. If you're Michael Phelps, you are on the water. Same repetition, repetition. It's so boring. There's actually, if you were to watch a superstar, you will sleep when they are training because
Yeah.
their repetition is boring.
Yeah.
But we don't
Acknowledge.
that. It's only when the medal kicks in, then we are, all we want is to be Black Coffee. But we don't see the times Black Coffee had to play 10 gigs or 20 gigs in a day, hustling, trying to get to where he is now with the Grammy, all the success that he now has. But it didn't start that way. It started somewhere. But I feel like we need a mindset in a society that says, yes, we need to make the world better for you. We need to make the country better for you. We need to make the education better. We need to make where you live safe. We need to make sure there's electricity 24/7. Those, yes, we agree. Let's assume that's 40% government responsibility or your parents. The 60% is you. What are you doing with your 60%? Because you're quick to point at the 40, but you're not doing anything with your 60% that you've been given. So that's for me the mindset part.
And you know what, hey? We said we're doing a follow up. In the follow up, we're going to talk about the responsibility that those who come from a place who have that responsibility also is something I don't think we speak enough about.
Yep.
But for now, Doctor,
Thank you.
I feel like we could go on forever. This has been such an informative conversation. I really appreciate the time that you've taken to speak with us here today.
Super.
And we're wishing you all the best with Canva Africa over the next few years.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for bringing it here. Like I said, this is a massive part of the work that we do. Our business would have found it much more difficult to grow if we didn't have tools like Canva. So we have to thank you and the Canva team for the work that you're doing, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Super. Thank you very much.